Steelers are taking on the Bengals this week. It's a huge matchup with huge playoff implications. It's going to be a tough game. What do you think, Easy?
Pac-Man's garbage.
Steelers.
Believe it.
Welcome to the Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome to our Week 14 Steelers preview show. I'm your host, Jim Stella. I'm in studio with the senior baseball analyst slash senior fantasy analyst
slash
producer
better than the host
slash bleep you, J Dash. Also in studio today is our senior college analyst, Big Easy. How you feeling?
Feeling good. My sources are telling me that there's some quality action in Cincinnati this week.
Hey, the spread loves the Steelers. I'll tell you that right now. We got Pittsburgh going into Cincinnati. This is a huge game for Pittsburgh and a huge game for Cincinnati. Huge playoff implications. The Bengals are 8-3-1 coming into this game, and Pittsburgh is 7-5. If Pittsburgh wins out, they will definitely win the division because they will have beaten Cincinnati 2 times and own the head-to-head matchup tiebreaker. So if they lose this game, they almost have no chance at the division.
I wouldn't say no chance yet, but I agree the chances are very slim. Did you give the over and under on this?
I did not.
Pittsburgh is +3 and the over-under is 47. What do you like on the over-under?
Way over.
Way over? Ooh, that's
Way
tough,
over.
man.
The Steelers' defense is terrible. The Bengals' defense is terrible. It's going to be points galore.
I think Cincinnati's quarterback is terrible, and I don't think their defense is as bad as you're leading on.
Hey, man, that's your opinion. Well, let's get into the Steelers' defense a little bit. I got some stats for you. They're going to open up a few people's eyes. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense has allowed 298 points through 12 games this season. That's the most through 12 games since 2001. The defense has given up the 12th most yards in the league. They are 4th best on third down percentage, which is kind of crazy. But they only have 21 sacks, which is 26th. They only have 8 picks, that's 24th. They only have 8 forced fumbles, 6 fumble recoveries, and they're -4 in turnover differential, which is 21st in the league. So if anybody is wondering why the Pittsburgh Steelers are 7-5 this year, I just pretty much summed it all up.
This is a offensive-driven league anymore, and I say the Steelers' defense isn't as bad as you're saying. The offense has put them in bad situations at times, and really, if you remember, during this little 4-1 winning streak, the defense was the one that put it together more than the offense, I think, outside of those 2 big games by Ben.
Well, I think the offense carried the team through those games more than the defense did. They didn't really do a whole lot other than bend and not break. And recently they have been bending and breaking in like 6 pieces.
Well, don't forget in that Houston game, they forced turnovers deep in Houston's end zone, giving this offense easy scores. And against Indianapolis, Willie Gay took one to the house.
And against Tampa Bay, they let Lewis Murphy go straight down the field and lose.
Well, yeah, they let up 27 points in that game. That was way back in Week 4, though. I said during the 4-1 stretch. But really, if you score 24 points against Tampa Bay, you deserve to lose anyways. This offense is just as bad, if not worse, than the defense this year, in my opinion.
I disagree. The offense has 5,008 total yards. That's 3rd. They're 4th in passing with 3,591 yards. 11th in rushing with 1,417 yards. They're 9th in points with 320 yards. All their stats other than the rushing are top 10 in offense. All their stats on defense are like 20th or worst.
Outside of those 2 games where they put up big points and Ben had the 6 touchdowns, man, they haven't done much. You got to remember, we were arguing or complaining about the first 6 games of the season when they weren't scoring in the red zone. We kept saying, yeah, they're putting the yards together, but they weren't converting on third downs and they weren't converting in the red zone, and that's been a problem for them. And plus, they put this defense in some bad situations.
Well, the offense is converting 44.4% on third downs. That's 7th in the league, and like I said earlier, they have 320 points, and that's 9th in the league. That's top 10 in both categories, so I don't see that as a huge problem.
Yeah, and Big Ben had 400 yards passing last week. He had a great game.
Well, he had a better game than the defense, who gave up 5 touchdowns to Drew Brees.
35 points to the Saints. You got to score more than that to win. And plus, they only had 16 that really mattered.
When the defense gives up 35 points, it makes it hard to win a game. So I'm still saying the defense is the biggest problem this year. Big Ben's been a little bit inconsistent as of late. For most of the year, he's been pretty well. Le'Veon Bell has been the lone, well, not the lone bright spot, because I guess Antonio Brown's been pretty consistent all year. Bell is second in the league with 1,046 rushing yards. He has a 4.8 average. Only 3 rushing touchdowns, though. That's a little concerning.
The only way the Steelers are going to win this game is if their offense can get 7 points when they get into the red zone in the first quarter. It's as simple as that. It's offense. You're talking about defense. I'm gonna side with Gallagher here.
Well, dude, every offensive
It's
category
the offense.
we're top 10 or better.
I don't
Every
give a shit
offensive
about those
category
stats.
Dude,
we're 20th or worse.
we
How
said
is
it
it the
about those
offense's
stats.
fault?
Dude, go back and
Because they
listen
can't
to our,
get 7.
yeah, go back and
cannot
listen
get
to our
7.
first 6
Well, dude,
segments,
we scored
dude.
more points than
All
we've
we
lost,
did was
or than
complain
we've
about
given
the
up.
offense because the offense was not getting it done. They have tons of yards. They get yards all they want. They pass the ball straight down the field. They run the ball straight down the field, and then they blow it. It's been like that all season, man. I'm not saying the defense is great or anything, but they kept us in some of these games for sure.
We've scored the 9th most points and given up the 20th most points. So right there, that tells me that the defense is worse than the offense.
Dude,
You're in the bottom half of the league in
go
points
back
against.
and listen to
You're
your
in the top
segments
half of
over the
league
past
in points
9
scored.
weeks, dude. We were complaining about the offense, not the defense.
In that Saints
Then-
game, if they get if they go up 7-0 in that Saints game, it's a different story. In general, momentum, everything, confidence, just they need to start getting 7. They need to start scoring touchdowns early in football games, and the defense can't do that. The offense has to.
The defense can't do anything this
The
year.
defense had a bad game last week, but during that 4-1 streak, I think they were what
Because they
gave us
takeaways,
that,
they
right?
had takeaways.
They had takeaways. They had touchdowns.
I mean,
I'm
that
sure.
helps.
I'm sure the defense threw the 12 touchdowns in 2 games.
Well, they
Well,
put him in a
I'm
good
sure-
position for some of those touchdowns. I
I'm
remember.
sure Roethlisberger got us into the end zone.
And a lot of these points, dude, came from the offense turning the ball over in their own red zone. But yeah, the defense is prone to give up the big play. That's their one problem to me.
Well, it's given.
They have more than one problem. They're only one defensive category are they even top 10 in the league. One, and that's third down percentage. They're 4th best. Every other defensive category, they're 12th or worse.
We're given all these stats. I'd like to see how our defensive stats match up with our division's defensive stats. Where are we compared with the teams in our division on the defense? That's what I'd like to know. Yeah.
let's
only
take a look at
12
this.
teams have given up more points. Only 6 teams have less sacks. Only 8 teams have less picks. Only 5 teams have less forced fumbles.
So you're
and
saying
only 11 teams have a worse turnover differential.
Okay, who won that Houston game for us? The defense or the offense?
The defense won that game for us.
Okay.
I'm not saying they
How about
didn't.
this Jets game
I'm
where
talking about
they held the
overall for
Jets
the
to
whole
20
year.
points and the offense scored 13? Whose fault's that?
That's 2 games. I'm talking about the course of the whole year, dude. I'm not talking about a 2-game sample.
Dude, go back and listen to our segments. For the first 6 weeks of the season, we were complaining about the offense, not the defense. Look,
That's
at Cleveland, our offense scored 10 points. They scored 6 at Baltimore. How is that on our defense?
I didn't say those games were on our defense.
We scored 17 at Jacksonville.
And we won that game.
Yeah, because our defense held them to 9 points.
So the key to the victory.
You
in
shouldn't give up
Cincinnati
more
is-
than 9 points against a team like Jacksonville.
Well, how many points should you score against Jacksonville?
As many as you can.
More than 17, let me tell you.
If they get in the red zone and get 7 instead of 3, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Well, you guys can believe what you want, but I'm just telling you that I think that the defense is the reason why the Steelers are struggling to make the playoffs this year. When all your stats are 20th or worst, then it just shows right there that they're struggling more than the offense.
Well, then what you said in our past 13 segments is
Dude,
complete
what happened
garbage.
in week 1 is different than what happened through 12 games.
I understand, but through week 8, we were talking that the defense was better than the offense.
I've never said
What
the defense
changed?
was better than the offense.
They
I
were
said
playing
they
better.
were both
What's
struggling.
changed there?
What changed where?
Like you were saying, we were saying the defense was looking better than the offense, and then what
They
changed?
were. Through the first 7 games, they were. And then Big Ben took over against Indianapolis and Baltimore.
That's got him clouded. That's got him. That's
what
all
I say,
clouded.
because after that, we scored 13 points at the Jets. We barely beat Tennessee. We put up 27, which is okay, but it's not great. But yeah, we scored 32 points last week. Hooray.
Doing nothing.
But we said Ben was terrible last week. The whole offense was terrible last week outside of Le'Veon Bell. But let's move on. We're going to be complaining forever because there's just no way around it. Jim will never give in to his arguments.
Well, my opinion is my opinion, and I don't think I should change it just because you have a different opinion.
No, I'm just saying your opinion all season was different besides now because you're looking at some certain stats. But we're going into Cincy this week, and this is a must-win game. What are you thinking?
I already said it's a must-win game. The Steelers need to win out to make the division, or win the division. And if they don't win the division, they're going to have a horrible time trying to make the playoffs because they have no tiebreakers against the other teams in the wild card hunt.
So Ike Taylor's tasked to stop A.J. Green, right?
Gonna have to try.
Ike
He's
Taylor.
done it before, hasn't he?
Yeah, when he was actually semi-good. Nobody in that defensive backfield is any good. I'm sorry. I love Troy Polamalu. He's the best we got. That doesn't make him great. Ike Taylor had a horrible game last week. Willie Gay, when he has to step in and be the starting corner, he's garbage. The only time he's any good is when he's a nickelback. When he's the nickelback, he's probably one of the best nickelbacks in the AFC, maybe the whole NFL. But it's a totally different game when you have to step out to the outside and cover, the team's starting receiver. Mike Mitchell's been probably the biggest disappointment on the Steelers defense all year long. We gave him that contract in the offseason thinking he was going to come in, help us get turnovers, help us make some big plays, help us not give up so many big plays. But through all the defensive stats that I told you, the Steelers still being fourth best on third down percentage, but still giving up all those points, that just shows you right there. They're giving up too many big plays. And that's what the back-breaking point is for the defense. They'll hold you for 2-3 plays, maybe get you 1 or 2 first downs, and then they just give up a huge play, and it's all over.
And it's going to be tough this week. There's a lot of injuries, isn't there?
For the defense?
Yes.
Actually, compared to what we've had, it's probably average because you got Troy back, you got Ike back, and you got Shazier back, but you have McCain out, you have McClendon out, you have Kiesel out, and James Harrison may be out. So we gained a couple people in the defensive backfield and the middle linebackers, but then we lost players from our D-line and outside linebackers.
We still have a linebacker out too, don't we?
Jarvis Jones will most likely be back this week.
Well, that helps.
If he can play up to his first-round potential, but, all three of us can probably agree that he hasn't reached what he should be doing right now.
To me, they got to, over anything, they need to stop the run, especially Jeremy Hill, without putting 8 in the box, because Andy Dalton can't beat you unless there's single coverage.
I agree. The biggest problem with that is once Casey Hampton left, we've had no nose tackle. And I know it hasn't been that many years, but McClendon is not a nose tackle in our defense. And I know you liked him a little bit more last year than you do this year, Dash. He's just not that big, gap-strong guy that we need in the middle. He rushes the passer better than he stops the run, and that's not what a 3-4 nose tackle should be doing.
Actually, they haven't been too terrible against the run. They're 10th in the league. They let up 105.6 a game. It's not great, but it's also not terrible. They just got to make sure they stop not only Jeremy Hill, but Giovanni Bernard, too.
It's the up-the-middle rushing that has me worried. It's those short yardage, plays that they can't stop them because you could not run the ball. And I know that the defense in our last Super Bowl championship was one of the best that we've had in a Super Bowl year. But they were giving up like 60 yards a game rushing. And you can't expect to be that way all the time. But through our lifetime, have we really seen a Steelers run defense struggle this much up the middle? I don't remember a whole lot of times that anybody could ever run up the middle on the Steelers defense, whether we had a winning or losing record.
It doesn't seem like it, but actually I'd say the stats probably are improved from the past 2 years because I remember them getting run all over recently.
Oh, it's just going to keep happening. Ryan Shazier may help out because he's a little bit better athlete than Sean Spence. That major knee injury Spence had recently kind of slows him down no matter what anybody wants to say. But Shazier's still young, and he's not that heavy. So a bigger back like Hill, he may be able to run right through him, and that's been our problem. It hasn't been so much to the outside. You haven't seen a lot of long runs. It's those grinding, middle-of-the-field runs that we just cannot stop.
Well, if we are able to stop the run, I think we have a great chance of winning this game because Andy Dalton has been poop all season long.
Poop.
He only has 13 touchdowns on the season.
He called the bleep poop, sorry.
And really, yeah, they have weapons on this offensive side, but they just can't put it together, and I think it all starts with Andy Dalton.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of Andy Dalton. Easy, I know you guys hang out in the offseason, you and Dalton, so what's he like in real life?
Me and Andy Dalton were playing some tennis last week.
I thought you played slam racket. I didn't think it was tennis.
No, it was real.
Okay,
He
legit
don't
tennis.
understand slam.
Oh, yeah.
Andy
Well, he's
Andy
not smart
Dalton
enough
don't
to figure that
understand
out.
Slam racket.
Redheads aren't that
we had
smart.
to play regular tennis. I took him to the limit, 5 sets, and he got me. But that's because he's an athlete, and I weigh 245 pounds.
You were probably drinking beer instead of Gatorade too, I believe.
Oh, I had a 6-pack down by the time I met him at the court.
We were talking earlier this season that Cincinnati isn't a great team, and we expect them to fall off, and they did for a little bit. But they're actually 5-1 in their last 6 games.
But look at their last 4 games.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
That's brutal, considering if Pittsburgh can play them, and Cleveland already beat them once. So.
Yeah, 24-3.
And they have to play Denver too.
I may not be 100% correct on they have to win out to win the division, but they definitely have to beat Cincy
It's a must-win.
in both games that we play in the next 5
This
weeks.
Sunday is a must-win.
It's
as simple as that.
If they win this game, the last game might not be must-win if Cleveland and Denver can come out and beat Cincy. And I don't see why that can't happen.
Right.
I don't want to count on Cleveland to beat Cincinnati, though. I know they beat us, and did they beat Cincinnati the first time?
Yeah, they destroyed
But,
them.
Division games can go either way, so I would rather the Steelers obviously win out and control their own fate more than have to rely on either Bubby Hoyer or Johnny Football, depending on who gets the ball to help us get in the playoffs. Last year when we relied on, was it Kansas City we needed to win? And the refs screwed us.
I think, we needed KC to win.
Do you guys think that Roethlisberger's hand is going to be an issue in this game? He hit his hand, was it off somebody's helmet or shoulder pad last week, I thought. A lot of people have been trying to make a bigger deal out of it. The Steelers have it listed as, no injury. It does say probable, I see over here on the injury report, but they won't admit that he has a hand injury. They won't really disclose much about it.
Yes, so if he's hurt, it's going to bother him. If he's not hurt, it's not. I mean,
he says
we'll find out Sunday. If he can't throw if he's throwing ducks, then yeah, he's hurt.
He said that the hand didn't bother him last week and that his 2 fingers went numb for a little bit and then it was back, by the next drive, and that's not why he was overthrowing the passers. So he's basically just saying that he was complete garbage last week.
My head was numb watching that game.
I think he'll be all right, and he did throw for 425 yards, but like we were saying, he didn't look very good, and they can get all the yards they want, but they got to score in the red zone, and they need to keep more than just Antonio Brown involved in the passing game. You have to get Bryant back involved in his passing game. I mean, just look, when we were on our winning streak, that was when Bryant was coming up big. And now we look like crap again. Well, Bryant isn't getting the ball. Wheaton really isn't getting the ball. Heath Miller had a big week last week.
Are they getting open, though? That's what you don't see when you watch the game if you're watching it on TV. Are they even getting open? I know, but I'm just saying. Effort.
I think
Wheaton, Martavis Bryant, and Wheaton, we need to see more effort.
I agree with Easy there, but I think it's a little bit more of the game plan. Bryant is so big that he's open almost no matter who's covering him. Unless you have a big, tall corner covering him, you just throw the ball up a little high. Let him go for it. Marcus Wheaton, he's a burner. Let him try to get behind the defense. We've run the ball so well with Le'Veon Bell this year. I just don't understand why we're not taking better advantage of the play-action passing game.
Yeah, we got to go deep more often.
Other teams throw the ball deep at least once or twice a game just in the hopes of a penalty, and they usually get it one or 2 times. So why do we not try? It's like Todd Haley doesn't want to throw the ball more than 20 yards.
Todd Haley, we've been talking about him all year, and what is this, week 14 now?
Yeah.
THG.
Well, before we get into our keys of victory, and this is a big if because the season's not over, but if the Steelers finish 8-8 or whatever our record is, and we miss the playoffs again for a 3rd straight year,
THG.
Are all 3 coaches on the hot seat, or just LeBeau and Haley?
Yeah, I think it's just LeBeau and Haley myself. I think Tomlin will be back for at least one more season.
One more means he's on the hot seat, though.
Yeah, one more. I mean,
give
him some new coaches. Give him a new defensive coordinator and see if anything changes.
Yeah.
Is LeBeau going to retire on his own, though? Because I don't see the organization forcing LeBeau out until he's ready.
They'll do one of those little, you're fired, but we'll say you retired.
Yeah,
so then he can go take another team almost to the Super Bowl, and then even another team almost to the Super Bowl?
No, he's gonna take his senior citizens to the Super Bowl.
the senior Steelers.
He's gonna
Coach up Joe Green and
go get a
No.
discount
Mel
at
Blount and
Rack's.
Jack Lambert
Not even
again.
those dudes. He's gonna end up shopping at Dollar General.
He's going to teach Snoop Dogg's Pop Warner Steelers team how to play
He'll be
defense.
shopping at Dollar General and walking around the mall for exercise.
Well, I think LeBeau has enough money to buy a Dollar General.
All right, well, he'll be walking around the mall for exercise in Chanel sweats.
Well, let's get into our keys to victory, Easy. What is your one key to victory for the Steelers this week?
Key to victory is score touchdowns and not field goals.
So converting in the red zone.
No, just score touchdowns. It's not even about the red zone. Score from anywhere.
Score in the red zone and come up with
Yeah.
a big play or two.
Yeah, I want one splash play and 7 instead of 3 in the red zone.
Well, what about you, Dash?
Like I said before, I think you gotta find a way to stop the run without loading the box, just so you don't have to. So because Andy Dalton can beat you in single coverage, but he does have problems otherwise.
I think that the Steelers' offense is better than the Bengals' offense. So if the Steelers want to win this game, the defense has to step up and outplay the Bengals' defense. They got to force Andy Dalton into some mistakes. They got to do what Dash said and stop the run, but force Andy Dalton to try to throw. And you got to take advantage and get turnovers. You got to help the offense out. You got to give them a short field at least one time in the game. Help them get an easy touchdown. It's supposed to be a team effort. You know, I keep saying that I think it's the defense's fault, and you guys keep saying you think it's the offense's fault. When in reality, it's probably both of their fault for not, playing well ever really at the same time other than that short stretch.
Right.
You get the defense playing well a couple games, but the offense is bad. You get the offense playing well. So we need a complete game. We need the defense to get a turnover, give us one short
Especially
field.
on the road.
Yeah, and we need the offense, like Easy said, you got to put the ball in the end zone.
Like I was gonna say, if we drive down the field, let's say we get the ball, drive down the field, get into the red zone, don't get the 7, get 3. Cincinnati, and just like in the Saints game, let's say the defense comes out in the first quarter and looks really good in the first quarter. Couple 3s and outs for the Bengals, you know what I mean? 3-0. Then we get down into the red zone again, don't get 7, 6-0, okay? And then let's say it's 6-0 5 minutes before halftime. If the Bengals come down and make a big play on our defense and it's 7-6 at halftime, is it the offense's fault or is it the defense's fault for giving up the big play and letting them score before the half? That's
if you're
the
only
question.
giving up one touchdown,
It should be 14. It's the offense.
If you're only giving up one touchdown and a half to an offense like the Bengals, then it's not the defense's fault.
Okay.
It's the offense's fault. But the defense has given up, the 20th most points in the league this year. So when you're giving up that many points, your offense is scoring the 9th most. Your defense is still giving up too many points. If the defense was top 10 in points per games, we'd probably only have 1 or 2 losses this year with as many points as the offense has been scoring.
All the emphasis on these stats, though. Look at the teams in the league this year.
Dude, parity's
there's
all through the league, man.
There's a whole division and it doesn't even have a winning record. So their stats are coming into that. I don't know. If just score touchdowns.
Cincinnati has scored 60 less points than we have this year, and yet they've won 1 more game than we have because their defense has given up 51 less points than our defense has. We've given up the most points in our division.
Stats that looks good, but I bet you they convert touchdowns when they have to.
Well, they don't score as many points as us. They have 60 less.
Well, they got 2 more wins, though, and I'll tell you why. Because they get
7 give up less points.
No, it's because they get 7 when they need to and keep momentum and keep a fucking fan base energized.
Real quick, are we the 9th scoring offense or are we just 9th in points?
We have the 9th most points in the league.
Okay, well, some of that's from the defense, too.
Well, before we go, let's do this pick. Who do you got winning the game here, Easy?
I'm going to go with Cincinnati. The Steelers just have disappointed me all year long, and I'm done with them.
Dash?
Well, let's look. In 2 road division games, the offense has scored 16 points, so I am going with Cincinnati as well.
All right, well, I'm not going to go against the Steelers here. I think Pittsburgh wins this game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, maybe something like 31-28, somewhere around there. The Steelers, they need this game. When their back's against the wall, they usually play well. I could see them winning at Cincinnati, getting all our hopes up, making it to the game against Cincinnati at home, and then losing that game more than I can see them losing this game. They haven't lost back-to-back games all year long, so I don't think it's going to start now. They know they need this, and I think Pittsburgh wins this game by less than a touchdown, probably by maybe only a field goal at the end. Well, that wraps up our Week 14 preview show. I want to thank you, Dash and Easy, for sitting in. Always a good time. Thanks, fans, for listening. You can follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread. You can like us on Facebook, subscribe to that YouTube channel. I hope Pittsburgh wins this game and keeps it interesting, because I don't want this to be irrelevant for the last couple weeks of the year.
Spread them.